What? So that's a little bit of what we get from Meghan Markle, that sort of rubbish, a woke whinger. And for this, she's going to be honoured with some special prize for women.
She thought the cameras would be waiting, that the red carpet would roll itself out, that she would walk into the spotlight as the crowned Duchess of Media Empowerment, reclaiming her place among the stars. But on that May evening in 2025, outside the opulent Beverly Wilshire Hotel, Meghan Markle was left standing alone. No grand entrance, no official welcome, no applause, just a velvet rope and a security guard who didn't budge. The Duchess of Sussex, the woman once hailed as the bold face of modern feminism, found herself locked out, literally and symbolically, from the one place she believed still celebrated her. And that rejection, as public as it was humiliating, wasn't just a scheduling error, it was a message, one the entertainment industry delivered loud and clear. The 50th Annual Gracie Awards, hosted by the Alliance for Women in Media, had always been a prestigious affair, honoring women who shaped the media landscape through integrity, creativity, and substance. Meghan, of course, saw herself as a natural fit. But while she may have once commanded attention with her titles and her speeches, Hollywood had moved on. And this time, when she tried to step into a room that didn't invite her, the consequences played out like a carefully scripted downfall. Witnesses say Meghan arrived without Prince Harry, expecting a warm reception. Instead, she was halted by security. Her name wasn't on the official VIP list, not under her maiden name, not as the Duchess, not even as a media figure. For several minutes, she waited, visibly agitated, checking her phone, scanning the crowd, hoping someone would fix the error. But the error wasn't clerical. It was strategic. And by the time staff attempted to clarify her credentials, the moment had already passed. Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington were gliding past the red carpet photographers. Meghan was left in the shadows. What followed was a display so awkward it bordered on surreal. Reportedly asking security, "Do you know who I am?" Meghan received nothing but polite refusal. The velvet rope stayed closed, and just a few feet away, actual honorees were stepping into the spotlight. For someone whose brand was built on visibility, this kind of exclusion hit harder than any tabloid rumor. It was more than just a denied entrance, it was a live broadcast of her waning relevance. But how did she even get there if she wasn't invited? Insiders later revealed that Meghan's team had never formally confirmed her attendance through the event's official channels. A simple miscommunication, some suggested, but others painted a different picture, one of assumption and entitlement, that her presence would simply be accepted, that her title alone would override the need for protocols, that the rules didn't apply. That miscalculation, believing that her star power could supersede procedure, was precisely what got her bounced at the door. And worse, her name had reportedly been included in early drafts of the printed program, but was quietly removed days before. Sources claim the Gracie Awards committee had received no confirmation, no formal RSVP, no verified nomination, just press buzz from Meghan's team, hyping an appearance that had never been greenlit. One committee member, speaking anonymously, said it bluntly, "We don't do self-nominations. That's not how the Gracies work." It was a brutal reminder that true recognition isn't earned through headlines, but through actual contributions. Still, Meghan wasn't ready to give up. Backstage, away from the flashing cameras, reports say she tried negotiating a seat at the gala. Any seat, any table, even for a short time. But the answer remained the same. All seats are confirmed. There is no room. Organizers were firm. This wasn't a networking mixer or a Hollywood cocktail party. It was a professional, pre-planned event honoring women who earned their place. Through work, not publicity. And Meghan? She wasn't on the list. In the past, an incident like this might have sparked outrage or sympathy. Not in 2025. The media response was swift, but not in her favor. Page 6, Deadline, and TMZ all ran headlines that framed her appearance as a PR stunt gone wrong. And on social media, she was mercilessly mocked. Jokes about her manifesting her way into the gala trended on X and Instagram. Even some fellow celebrities off the record couldn't help but chuckle. One anonymous insider quipped, "She thought this was Suits Season 2. What Meghan hadn't anticipated was the silence that followed. No one from her team issued a rebuttal. No statement, no clarification, no spin. For someone who built her brand on visibility, the sudden quiet was deafening. Even more telling, her absence was barely noticed. The cameras turned to other stars. The conversations moved on. Meghan had come expecting a spotlight and left as a footnote. Across the pond, royal insiders weren't surprised. A former aide reportedly told The Times, "This is what happens when you burn every bridge and assume the world still owes you a crown." According to palace sources, even Prince William and Princess Catherine saw it as inevitable. Meghan had spent years alienating institutions, both royal and entertainment. The Gracie Awards just happened to be the one that said it out loud. What made the entire situation even more damning was the leaked version of the event's program. Meghan's name, once rumored to be part of a media contribution segment, was completely absent. Organizers had reportedly caught wind of a PR campaign claiming her attendance and quickly shut it down. "We operate with integrity," one board member stated. "We don't cater to unverified hype." And yet, there Meghan stood, outside the very venue she once believed she'd dominate. No interviews, no red carpet, no curated Instagram photos. Just an awkward silence that spoke louder than any headline. This wasn't just a denial, it was a reckoning. Her team scrambled behind the scenes. Calls were made, emails were sent. Sources say they even tried invoking a verbal invitation that no one on record could verify. But the Gracie Awards board wasn't budging. They had rules, and Meghan had none of the qualifications, confirmations, or credentials to break. She had banked everything on visibility. But visibility without value doesn't hold up. And at the Gracie Awards, that reality hit hard. By the time Meghan left the Beverly Wilshire Hotel that night, the media had already framed the story for her. It wasn't empowerment. It wasn't breaking barriers. It was rejection, loud, undeniable, and embarrassingly public. Even more than the headlines, it was the silence that followed that marked the real shift. There was no uproar, no trending outrage, no celebrity solidarity. In a town that lives and dies by its image, Meghan's image had flatlined, and not even her PR team could revive it. She didn't get a single frame of red carpet footage. No panel discussions. No behind-the-scenes content to upload later with an inspirational caption. Instead, she walked away into the Los Angeles night with nothing. No award, no headline, no redemption. Just a failed attempt to insert herself into a room that no longer had space for her. And that walk, not down the red carpet, but away from it, was the most telling scene of all. In a world where fame fades fast and public sentiment shifts even faster, Meghan's moment had passed. The Hollywood she once tried to conquer was now filled with rising stars who built their reputations through talent, not tabloid wars. Zendaya, Margot Robbie, Florence Pugh, these were the new icons. Women who acted, produced, evolved, and Meghan, she had become a ghost of her former narrative. Still speaking, still branding, but no longer being heard. That's why the Gracie Awards moment hurt more than any criticism she's faced before. Because it wasn't cruel, it wasn't targeted, it was indifferent. And for someone whose entire presence relies on attention, indifference is the sharpest knife. When Meghan tried to explain away the incident behind closed doors, reportedly blaming a staff mix-up, a miscommunication, an oversight, it didn't matter. The damage was already done. Event organizers had receipts, email records, invitation logs, program edits. Meghan's name had never been on the final guest list. Her narrative crumbled not just in the media, but in the cold, hard logistics of event planning, and that's what made the symbolism so devastating. The red carpet, once rolled out in her honor, was now firmly rolled up. She was no longer the voice of empowered womanhood, but a case study in overreach, a cautionary tale of what happens when image outweighs authenticity and when entitlement tries to replace effort. For Meghan, the Gracie Awards could have been a turning point, a clean slate, a graceful return. But instead, it became the moment Hollywood officially said, "We're done." And behind the scenes, the fallout was just as harsh. PR insiders reported that Meghan's team immediately went into damage control mode, but this time, the usual spin didn't stick. No platform rushed to defend her. No co-star or influencer posted a selfie in support. Even her own podcast platforms, once ready to amplify any controversy, remained silent. The message from the entertainment world was undeniable. The era of Meghan Markle's media dominance had ended. And not with a scandal, not with a betrayal, but with a simple, silent rejection at the door. What's worse is that Meghan seemed to know it too. Eyewitnesses described her face. Not angry, not confused, but stunned. Not by the denial, but by the realization that it was permanent, that she couldn't talk her way into the room anymore. that the world she once commanded had changed, and she was now on the outside looking in. There was no limousine waiting, no entourage, no paparazzi rush. Just one woman alone, slipping out the side of an event she never truly belonged to. And in that moment, the fairy tale ended. Not with a crown, but with a closed door. Even tabloids known for defending her shifted tone. No longer painting her as a misunderstood rebel, they now described her as a symbol of delusion. Someone who believed she was still the story when the spotlight had already moved on. That her attempts to control the narrative were no longer persuasive. They were exhausting. And this wasn't just one failed event. It was a pattern. The failed Netflix deal, the podcast cancellation, the drifting apart from royal titles and privileges, the slow, steady fading of her platform, replaced by newer voices, newer stories. Meghan wasn't just denied entrance to the Gracie Awards, she was denied relevance. By the end of the night, the most powerful image wasn't of Meghan on the red carpet, it was of her leaving, quietly, without comment, without footage, without anything to post. A woman once pursued by press, now avoided even by the gossip columns. She had become a liability, not to institutions or monarchies, but to her own brand. And in a world where every star burns fast, she had burned too bright, too quickly, and too arrogantly. The lesson: when you demand recognition without earning it, the industry eventually stops listening. Meghan Markle's Gracie Awards meltdown wasn't a moment of injustice. It was a reckoning, a correction, a reminder that fame without foundation collapses, that titles without trust mean nothing, and that in the spotlight's harsh glow, the truth always reveals itself. She came for a comeback. She left with a whisper, and as the media wrote her final headlines for the evening, one thing became clear: Meghan Markle wasn't pushed out. She simply faded, not with a scandal, not with a scream, but with silence. A silence so loud it echoed across Hollywood, and as Meghan disappears from the red carpets and the headlines she once dominated, perhaps she'll realize what the Gracie Awards really exposed. Not a door being slammed in her face, but a stage that had already moved on. No more curated glamour, no more orchestrated empowerment, just an empty spotlight. And this time, no one was watching. But here's the real question. Was this Meghan Markle's final fall from grace, or just the beginning of something even more calculated? Let us know in the comments what you think about Meghan's Gracie Awards disaster. And if you want more deep dives into the drama behind fame, power, and reputation, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. This saga is far from over.